Hello, this is RT International. Welcome back to the programme. Another story we're across that's developing in the next couple of hours or so is Donald Trump will be holding his first news conference as US President-elect, which will start in a couple of hours at Trump Tower in New York. As you can imagine, it's highly anticipated, especially given the new allegations against Russia and Trump's intentions to mend ties with Moscow. RT's Caleb Maupin will be there, but let's look ahead with him right now. Caleb, a lot of pressure aimed at Donald Trump in these final days before he takes office. Bring us up to speed.
Well, the latest example of pressure being placed on President-elect Donald Trump is a letter that was delivered to Donald Trump that's been signed by various European leaders. Now, this letter urges Trump not to have a friendly relationship with Moscow. Let's take a listen to some of the contents of this letter that's been delivered to the President-elect.
Dear President-elect Trump, it would be a grave mistake to end the current sanctions on Russia. The aftershocks of such a deal would shake American credibility with allies in Europe and elsewhere. Have no doubt, Vladimir Putin is not America's ally. Neither is he a trustworthy international partner. Both of the presidents who preceded you tried in their own ways to deal with Russia's leadership in the spirit of trust and friendship. Big mistake. Putin treated their good intentions as opportunities. Putin does not seek American greatness. As your allies, we do.
Now, it's not only outside of the country that Donald Trump is facing a lot of pressure for his expressed desire to have a better relationship with Russia. Even within his own party, there are many voices who don't agree with him. However, there are some voices within the Republican Party who do support Donald Trump. Now, one thing that's been very clear about Donald Trump is he has no difficulty reaching the U.S. public. He's very vocal on Twitter, and he should be addressing this issue of his relationship with Russia and the surrounding controversy at the upcoming press conference, which I will be attending.
Yeah, the atmosphere is certainly going to be something to gauge, isn't it, Caleb? Okay, thanks very much for that. Now, Syria's capital city is still facing a water shortage and also a dire humanitarian situation. The army there is continuing to battle the rebels for control of a valley which contains the main water source for Damascus. The government says rebels are contaminating the water sources and want to move in to secure supplies. But opposition forces say the Syrian army has damaged the water facility with its attacks. The Barada River and its source supplies most of Damascus. At the moment, more than 5 million people have minimal access to water. Earlier, we heard from the Red Cross in Syria.
This is something we haven't witnessed, at least during the past few months. So the situation is really dire when it comes to access to safe drinking water. From our side, we have been assisting the Damascus Water Board together with the Syrian Arab Red Crescent in order to increase the water supply within the city. We are waiting, we are ready to help. The most important thing is for the fighting to stop in order for our team and the Syrian Arab Red Crescent team to be able to access and make the necessary repair. I mean, it's the whole responsibility of the parties who are fighting on the ground to make sure that all the vital infrastructure from our side, we can assist them in order to make the necessary reparation and to respond to the emergencies and the emergent needs of the local population.
The United Nations Children's Rights Agency, UNICEF, says that water is being used as a weapon in Syria. We heard from Ali Rizk on UNICEF's statement. He says that terrorists resort to tactics like this when they're losing.
UNICEF is extremely concerned that an estimated 5.5 million people in Damascus and the surrounding areas are cut off from running water for over 2 weeks now. Water has been used as a weapon of war by all parties in the conflict in Syria. As a result, millions of civilians faced critical challenges to access vital drinking water. UNICEF reiterates its call to parties to the conflict to protect civilians and civilian infrastructure, such as schools, hospitals and water infrastructure.
Well, I think that the more that the chokehold on the armed groups and terrorists strengthens, the more they're going to resort to such tactics like water, anything whatsoever they can do, you know, to inflict harm. especially because they are now under increasing pressure, be it in Iraq and also in Syria, with the string of victories achieved against these terrorist groups. So we're going to see them more and more, resort to such methods, where be it water, be it cutting off electricity, using the Mosul Dam, for example, any other practices that could do any harm in whatever form.